Hello, ladies and gentlemen, also known as Pickles if you watch this channel on a regular basis. I'm so glad you're here. Today's topic is the shouldn'ts. And we shouldn't should on ourselves, but we do. But the shouldn't that I mean today is trigger foods. Are you lucky enough to learn what your trigger foods are? Do you know that there's certain things that can never enter your house, be nodded to at a restaurant with, yes, I want that, or eaten at a party or eaten at work because somebody brings it in? Do you know your trigger foods? Do you know how lucky you are if you do? Do you know how far into the woods a lot of people get with a food loss program before they even come out of the fog and see that that's a dangerous thing for me? And with a holiday coming around, sometimes that's how they learn. I was listening to an interview this morning on my walk, and the interviewer, it was kind of neat. He said, sometimes we learn because we take classes and are mentored. Sometimes we learn from just observing. And then some of us just pee on the third rail to see what will happen. Yeah. I've always felt that instead of following a guru as if their program was written just for me, I find that the best success I've had in my life, with no matter what it is, whatever area of my life that it's time to work on, I find that stubbing my own toes is what works best. I could just go along merrily and think that, oh, that person eats this and that, and look at, they've lost 2.2 pounds this week. Last week they lost 1.7. Maybe I can have some of that garbage and lose weight too. And I start dancing to their tune and being lulled in to that, indeed, I can do that. Even though the volumes of my testing it have proven to be failures, that I didn't succeed when I did that. It flamed my triggers and my cravings, and before you know it, I didn't care if it was 3 ounces of fish, 3 ounces of chicken, 3 ounces of pork, 3 ounces of tofu, and I don't even like tofu, as long as I could get to my dessert. As long as I could get to that carby thing at the end of the meal, that I know better. But when you know better, you do better. Except I'm thinking with food, because I keep seeing more people take a hiatus from what worked for them. And I was following a lot of people, and this is my journey, I'm just saying. So, if you found your magic formula and it's working for you, why, pray tell, do you want to dance with those things again? Did you forget that these things aren't good for you, like I did before I got here at 64? In my 40s, I remember shopping for the things that I shouldn't have, thinking I could have them in a controlled environment. And time after time after time, I would polish off the item. The item that if you flipped it over and saw servings, it would say 8 or 10, 14, who cares? And I'd like to say that in my 40s there were no battery-operated scales. So it's not like I couldn't measure out my half a cup of something, my third a cup of something, my cup and a half of something. It wasn't that dark ages. I didn't read diet books by candlelight, although sometimes I think I might have. Anyway, so my objective is just through December is to keep a lot of you safe, the ones that want to be kept safe. There's others that maybe don't want to be kept safe, but for those of us that feel that sometimes we're dangling by a thread, is anybody out there wanting to be abstinent through the season, or is every day a day to have a treat? For me, it's not. And, you know, in a previous video, I was saying that I just don't have my sugar cravings anymore. And so, hence, I'm not having desserts. I follow the keto low carb, high fat food plan, and I have a few more carbs than a real disciplined keto person would have. I have more like 30 to 40 each day, not the 20. But I'm just looking to stay where I am, even though I had that poundage creep. So somehow, because I had enough fat in my fat adapting period, and I stuck with this long enough, I didn't slip back into allowing sugar back into my life. And voila, presto, what happened was my sugar cravings went away. And I've said here often that what I do like are my fats. And so I forgot to say in the other video, yeah, I was coming back to it. You thought I wasn't, didn't you? So in my other video, I said I'm just not having the dessert, the sweets, even if it's a keto recipe, which look mighty fine and tempting, but I can't go there. So I realized that what I'm usually having at lunch, after the lunch part, is a half an ounce of macadamia nuts. That seems to be part of my rotation now, and I forgot to mention that in that other video. So that's replaced berries, which replaced other fruits, which replaced sugar desserts, which replaced cakes and candy and ice cream and all the no-nos. Now I'm down to a half an ounce of macadamia nuts. Who knows, tomorrow could be half an ounce of cashews, because I love those too. But I'm working through the cashew bag, and cashew. And so that's what I'm enjoying. And at the end of that meal, I am satisfied. My hunger cues are going, yeah, that's nice. Oh, thank you. Good food. It worked. And then a couple of hours later, now, only because it's winter and I went duh, and I got my Instant Pot, a double duh, I'm having my chicken bone broth. I like the beef, but I prefer the chicken bone broth. And that's carrying me through to my dinner hour. And so I'm very, very happy. I'm very sated. My satisfaction level is, if I took that mallet to that bell, it's going over the top, and I'm very, very happy. I'm not around a lot of holiday goodies that are talking to me, so I'm kind of happy that way. When I go to my meeting in the morning, there is a goodie table that is loaded with all of those sort of things, but I kind of get there and just stay seated. And if I do have to walk up that way, I squint, which is my most important tool. So if you're following a food plan and you're still allowing some things in that could be triggers, that could set up cravings, it's self-sabotaging. Because, you know, you're going to go, I should have known this. I already knew this. How come I forgot this? That's what happened to me in my food journey through my 40s and early 50s. It was like I kept coming up to the same wall, and I would try to scale it with, throwing a line over it and making like I'm a rock climber. Going and getting a ladder and putting it up against it, trying to see if the fence ever ended and I could just ride my bike around it. I kept trying every way, but I was still allowing the things that tipped me over, my trigger foods. So what are your trigger foods? Do you find that when you don't have them, you have a smooth sailing day, which rolls into another smooth sailing day, which turns into what I call momentum? And what keeps you motivated? Well, for me, it's momentum. If I know that from Sunday until today, I had this holiday item, that holiday item, those things that don't work for me, thinking I can eat these things in safety, guess what? I can't. And a friend of mine and I were talking about binging, and how once that binging thing is taking place and you go through all of the triggers and maybe the sugary, carby things, I could even binge on celery and carrots because it's my nature. It's my nature to overdo. Until I pull it, I rein it back in. The fats are satisfying. I can have smaller portions and be satisfied. I mean, a half an ounce of macadamia nuts, they're like 5 or 6 of them, but it works. I'm like a little squirrel with that nut. I can make each macadamia last. And by the time I finish that meal, it's usually my first meal, then my full button has been reached. And when I was eating all the garbage, I was like piling all this junky, crappy stuff into my body that covered up the leptin. And the leptin is a hormone that signals the brain that you've had enough. Stop. And when my system is working, the leptin is working. But I didn't think I got one of those full buttons. I thought they were issued and I didn't get one for decades. And so now, eating clean, I do have leptin that does signal the brain, I'm okay, I'm going to get through it. Now, I will tell you, as a card-carrying addict, that my stomach starts growling at 7:30 in the morning. I'm having my bulletproof coffee. It begins between 2 and 3, right? So by 7:30, I haven't eaten in, say, 4:30. So 12 and 3. So I haven't eaten in 15 hours. So my stomach does its gurgle thing while I'm sitting in my meeting. How attractive, right? And so then, but I don't have anything at that point. If I'm going out to breakfast with my girlfriend and having something that I'd have at 11, I'm just having it at 9. But that seems to carry me through the day because my days are usually busy towards the end of the week when we do find ourselves saying yes to our breakfast out. But so then between 10:30 and 11, that's when I have my first meal of the day. So from 7:30 to 10:30, I am busy. That's my most active time of day. I'm doing errands or Pilates or something. And so I'm out and about or in and about with my resistance band. And no, that's not the band behind me singing. It's not called the resistant band. It's that, mine is gray because it's heavy duty. Band that I use for my Pilates. So, as soon as I eat, I know that my addict keeps telling me, have more, you're still hungry. So I know that I have to have my little routine. The nuts cap off the food part, and then I usually have another glass of lemon water, and then I'm sated until I have my bone broth, and then I'm happy until I have my second and final meal. So there's sometimes a 4 to 5.5, 6 hour spread of no food. And that seems to work for me. But your homework assignment is trigger foods. Do you know your trigger foods? And how do you handle them? Do you still think you can eat them in safety? That means your addict is working on you. That means your addict is saying, you can have these things. You won't OD on these things. Well, good for you. My addict will tell me I can have these things, and finally I can hear that she doesn't care. She wants me to eat these things and lose my momentum and my motivation, and I don't want to. This season is a bear, as we know. So take care of yourselves. Know your trigger foods. Don't go boo-hoo, I can't have them. Go, yay, I've identified them and I know how to steer clear of them. Think of it as a gift, because that's what it is. It's a gift, because when you get to that place where you are at your maintenance weight, you will know that nothing tastes as good as that number on that scale. And you worked hard for it. So don't blow it with thinking that you can have some things that you know you can't. Identify those triggers and just say, I can't. Can't. Been there, tried that. If it was a Girl Scout badge sash, you'd have a medallion, you'd have a badge for every round that you take at thinking you can eat those things. When at the end, you know, again, you can't. Find the other things that you crave. Having a nut, oh my God, it's so divine. I'd rather have that than the things that I used to eat, because I never was full. Anyway, enough. What are your trigger foods? List them below. I'm curious. You know mine. Tell me yours. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food. Bye-bye for now.